Welcome, everyone, to Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. This is the podcast where real estate investors get real results. This isn't fluff. This is where strategy meets your soul, and where we cut through the noise. We talk to pros in the trenches. We bring in experts who actually move the needle in your business. And if you're ready to grow your portfolio, protect your wealth, and build a lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. I'm Debbie Balfour, and I am your guide today. I'm a real estate investor, success coach, and I'm helping you to turn your strategy into freedom. I help real estate investors like you create your personalized real estate investing roadmaps and streamline your systems so that you can scale without stress. Because here's the truth, real estate investing isn't cookie cutter. Your plan should be built around you, your strengths, your lifestyle, and your legacy. So if you're ready to stop playing small, and start investing like you mean it, I want you to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's dive in. Even leave a comment. That would be awesome. My special guest today is Fritz Villegas. Fritz is a full-time registered nurse, a real estate investor, a mom of twins, who began her journey in real estate in 2018 by helping her parents buy their first home. In 2019, after purchasing her own property and experiencing burnout during the pandemic, she moved north and turned that transition into her first rental. Since then, she and her wife have acquired properties across Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Alberta, and recently closing on a multi-family deal with partners in Edmonton. We'll hear more and go deeper into Fritz's journey here in just a moment. Fritz's mission is to empower nurses and other busy professionals to invest in real estate, reclaim their time, and build a life beyond burnout. I think many of us have been there, gone through burnout. I know myself, I have. And that's what got me also to real estate investing. So she is looking for a life, helping people with a life that allows them to be fully present with their families and their loved ones, and to work their jobs at their own terms. And so that's the whole thing around financial freedom. It's not about being rich and wealthy. It's about doing what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want. It's on your terms. Doesn't mean you have to quit your job. It means that you're not tied to that job. Our topic today is about Fritz's journey from burnout to building wealth, a nurse's journey into real estate. So let's dive in. Let's now get to meet Fritz. Let's find out more about your journey. Tell me more about, when you started investing, how it's been so far, and then we'll get into more details.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if this is recorded, but Debbie, thank you for your time today. So actually, my story started when I moved here in Canada. So my parents were living here as immigrants for 10 years before I actually moved with them to migrate in Canada. And on the day that I landed in Ontario, in Toronto specifically, it was a cold winter night, and I stepped into this 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment suite in Ontario. And I asked my mom, because my mom's really goal-oriented, I asked her why she hasn't bought a house. And she said that she's already given up on that Canadian dream of owning a house because she didn't know how to start, and we just didn't know what we didn't know. So after a few months, we were invited with our family friends at our family friend's house. They just bought a house. So I just started asking about how they were able to afford it. And they started talking about the first-time home buyers program, which only requires you to have 5% down payment for your first primary home. And I started reading more about it. At that time, I wasn't a registered nurse yet. It took some time for me to actually get my license, 4 years. And I was working at the kitchen at the hospital. So with a minimum wage job, I'm good at saving up. So I was just saving up while researching about how to buy a house and help my parents out. And then after 4 years, when I finally had enough money as a 5% down payment, I challenged my mom because I offered her here because they were very supportive during when I was growing up. And I offered her the down payment as a gift. And I asked her for them to buy their first home. Or if they didn't want that, then I can buy mine and they can rent out from me. But so that was my only goal, is to like help out my parents to buy their first home instead of renting out. And then from there, when I finally got my license the following year, I worked 3 jobs as a registered nurse.
Wow.
Whenever I'm off, I would work 2 part-time jobs for me to save up and just fast track that. So I bought my first condo in Ontario after a year's time.
I love that. I love that your first goal wasn't for yourself. It was for your parents. So I think sometimes it's so easy for us, and we'll get into your why later, but it's so easy for you to sometimes, when your goal is for yourself, to kind of delay that goal, or like your mom when she'd given up on it. So it's so much easier for you to say, oh, I don't need that right now, or I could change this. But when it's for someone else, I think there's much more of a commitment in there. So now you've got your first apartment. So you've gone from renting with your parents, and then in 5 years, you've not only saved up to give them a down payment, but you were able to, also buy your first condo for yourself.
Yes.
So where did you go from there?
From there, during the pandemic hit, 2020, and I was at my dream job, actually. I was working at the post-anesthesia care unit in my dream hospital, which most people, like most nurses, will go there when they have so much, like decades of experience. And I was lucky to be selected by that unit, to be in that unit and working. But that's when COVID happened and I experienced burnout. And as a nurse at that time, hospitals were actually very short-staffed, that we were denied vacation to cover for the patient ratio that we were getting. It was a crisis. It was the pandemic. So at that time, I started questioning myself, do I want to try something outside where I'm at? And that's when it hit me, because when I first got my license, I really wanted to try to go to Nunavut and do northern nursing and have that nursing experience. So at that time, I took an interview just for fun to see if I will get in, and I got it. And it hit me because when the offer came in, I was like, okay, I have to make a decision of a lifetime. Do I stay or do I try it out? So that's when I decided that I will try it out, because it's now or never. Because I had so much plans in the future, and I know that when I move to Nunavut, I will have that significant experience. I will live the lifestyle and have that. It's an eye-opener for me, like to live in a different culture. And at the same time, the pay too is more rewarding than staying in Ontario.
I can't imagine too many people you've got strange dreams. No, I'm only kidding. But I can't imagine for most nurses that none of it would be like the dream kind of job, a goal that they want to do. They want to be more in, warmer cities. Yeah. So when you moved to Nunavut, did you rent there? Did you buy there? What did you do?
We have housing from my employer.
Right. Okay.
So when that happened, so when I moved to Nunavut full time, like I was actually living there, I had to find tenants to cover my mortgage, because I was locked in for a 5-year mortgage and I didn't want to break that.
Right.
Actually, that's where I saw the potential of real estate, because I was in Ontario back then. And when the pandemic happened, the interest rates went down, people started buying. So I could see how much the market prices were at. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to hold. So that's when I read the Tenancy Act and did all the showings before I actually moved out of Ontario.
That's awesome. So instead of selling up, what you saw the opportunity to now, to rent that out. Now that's your first investment property that you've had. right? Because you've gone from your parents' principal residence, your principal residence, and now your principal residence has turned into your investment property. Did you rent in none of it, or did you? Oh yeah, you had accommodation, so you didn't have to worry, which was great. You
Yeah,
had,
it
yeah.
was minimal. Like
Mm.
we have to pay some amount, but it was minimal, and that actually helped me to fast track saving up for 20% down payment for a property in Calgary too.
So you didn't look at opportunities in none of it
For properties.
for properties, yeah.
No, yeah, the real estate is more complex for me because the land is for the Inuks, for the Inuits.
Okay, so
So
there wasn't any opportunities in none
yeah,
of it to have to purchase your own. It's all leased land. It's
yeah,
all native land. Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
So there's a different rule there, which I'm actually curious about. At that time, I was just like, just save and save. That was
Well, yes, and it is something. So I want to point out to anybody listening to this, there's a reason why Fritz didn't look for it. As soon as you're working with native land, number one, it's not freehold, but also even if I know that of people who have like bought condos and yeah, they got the mortgage, but then when they try to refinance, the mortgage companies won't refinance it. So there's lots of those, and there's lots of other things, technicalities and reason that could affect your investment property. So sometimes it sounds really good to start with, it sounds lower, the price is lower, but there's a reason for it. So be very careful, like when you're looking at properties, find out whether this is on native land because I really know all the regulations and the restrictions that come with native land.
yeah.
So that's a really good point. So okay, so you got your started looking, you were in Nunavut, but you looked at properties in Calgary.
Yes, because at that time, and I'm gonna talk more about this, it was
Mhm.
a lesson learned because we always learn lessons.
Definitely.
So at that time, I didn't know how long we're gonna stay in Nunavut. And so I was like, okay, we have money saved up. Let's just put it somewhere where it's gonna grow. And at that time, Calgary was starting to be louder on like the real estate investing side of it before it all exploded for the last couple of years. So there were a lot of pre-construction and we invested in that, but it wasn't built until 2020. So we invested in that, put some money in 2020, and then in 2022, late 2022 was the turnover.
Okay, so that was when it was completed in
Yeah.
2022. Was this a condo, a single family home? What was it?
It's a townhouse
Mhm.
with 4 bedrooms and 3.5 baths.
And what was the price point on this?
When we bought it's around 380.
Wow.
Now the property's at above 500, I believe, from the last. And but that's only from the city, right? Like
Mhm.
when your property tax assessment, but that's not the
That's
basis.
not the thing, yeah, because
Yeah.
I had purchased a place in Calgary. It was a duplex and it's suited duplex. And I purchased it for 440 and we sold it last year for 652. So
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that the market value on yours on a 4 bedroom, townhouse would be way more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think the Calgary market, I think, has another at least another year and a half in it. So yeah, it's been like really growing.
Yeah.
So you've got the place in Calgary now. Did you invest anything else after that?
After that, we moved to
Mhm.
Saskatchewan because we got pregnant, and so healthcare in the north is very limited. I had twins, so it's a high risk pregnancy. So I had to move back to a city, and we chose Regina, Saskatchewan. So actually, right now, we're still living in Saskatchewan. So when we moved here, we bought our primary home that we're living at right now. And so that's what happened. And then with other investments like last year. So what happened was actually I'll go to my how I got involved with like taking this seriously.
Yes, yes.
I was pregnant. I was questioning myself because as a mom, so going to my past, I grew up, my parents moved from the Philippines to work abroad when I was 12 years old. So from there, they've lost so many milestones in my life. And so when I was pregnant, I was just sitting at home and I was just thinking about like it hits you differently, motherhood. And for me, that was like my awakening that I want my kids to have a better experience with their childhood. Shift work, working night shifts. When you do that, you can't really function the following day. You
No,
can't.
you're a zombie. You're a zombie.
Yeah, I don't want my kids to. I have nothing against my parents. I was brought up good, but I can find a way to have quality time, like more quality time with my kids on my own terms. That's my why I decided to invest in myself. So while I was pregnant, I started looking for coaches in real estate because I didn't know that communities actually existed. And after I gave birth, I talked to my first mentor and yeah, I signed in for his program. And that's when I saw the things that I would have learned and would have prevented if I invested in myself first before buying properties. When people hear about a real estate investor, they think that it's glamorous and it's smooth, but no, it's not. You, you either invest in yourself by educating yourself and actually finding a mentor that has decades of experience that can just tell you what things to avoid, or you can wing it, like how I started my journey first and learn it the hard way. I was lucky enough to that the things that I didn't know, like I was lucky enough that the risk was not as big.
Well, you weren't scaling as yet. You were doing it like one at a time. So yeah.
Yeah, but like the mistakes that like I didn't pay for inspection because my realtor told me not to. And
Oh
I
my
didn't do
goodness.
anything at that time.
Yeah.
Right. But looking back, I was just lucky because the first property that I bought for myself, the condo, there was nothing hidden behind the wall. So I was like,
Yes.
would I do that again? No.
Yeah, I mean that's the value of the coach. You can go quick, you can go quicker, you can avoid mistakes, you learn from, their mistakes, their successes and go more of a straight line instead of a few detours and heartaches too. So yeah, for real estate, yes, it's great for growing wealth, but it's long term and there's a lot of heartaches and hard work that comes with it, definitely.
And energy. It takes
Mhm.
energy if you don't know what you're doing.
Are your places in Ontario and in Calgary, are you self-managing or do you have property managers?
So for Ontario, because that's my first baby, I actually self-manage there. It keeps me on top of knowing the changes in the Tenancy Act in Ontario, because
Mhm.
the Tenancy Act, you have to be more vigilant about it. But this time, like instead of flying back and forth, I actually have formed a team and a system that allows me to show the property and find tenants before I actually agree on which tenant to be placed there. So
Right.
I that system. As for Calgary, we have property managers there and for our other properties too. If you have the budget and it's in your numbers, if you run it and it can support the property management, then it, because it is not up to now. Like when my tenants in Ontario message me in the middle of the night, it means it's not good news for sure.
And your heart starts pumping.
Yeah, it is not a good experience. So now I've learned that I'm just applying what I've learned that every property that we're investing in now moving forward, I always add that to hire a property manager.
And so that's a really good tip for everybody out there, that even if you plan to self-manage, that you should add in your numbers the cost of a property manager, because life changes. So you may have twins like you have or something like that, where you no longer can do the property management and it needs to work for that. But also you want to pay yourself too if you're doing that property management. So always include that in, even if you're self-managing, include that in your numbers, because at some point you may want to step away from the self-managing and outsource that, and then it's already included in those numbers. So your why is really centered around your children and having more time as a family together. All
Yeah.
right. Are there any sorts of philanthropic goals that you have for the future? where you want to give back to society?
For me, like honestly, if you asked me before if I'm gonna sit in an interview doing this, I would have said no. Fritz, you're crazy if you do that. But right now, I'm just getting more comfortable sharing my story because um I don't know if I'll label that as philanthropic,
Mhm.
but I want to inspire other nurses because the fact is nurses are working, we work hard and thinking that at the end of our, like at 65, we have that pension that can support us. But unfortunately, I've seen it with my seniors in the places that I've worked before that at 65, that pension, after they retire, they come back in a few months to a year's time because they realize that that pension is actually not enough, their lifestyle, which is very unfortunate. So my goal is to just share my story, inspire other nurses to just explore. It doesn't have to be real estate, just explore something out of nursing because there's a lot of opportunities. Real estate for me is my strategy is long-term buy and hold. Goal is to build wealth in the future with the expectation and the goal that when I reach 55 or 60, then I can have more options and just pick when I want to work.
Mhm.
So that's my mission for now is to just inspire nurses like and other busy professional, any busy mother or a professional that's just working hard every day. You don't have to be a nurse. I just have to get started. Just ask questions.
And I think that's important what you just said is that you may love your job and you don't plan to leave right now, but you need to have other alternatives because you don't know what life will bring you. Also, it's not necessarily like we're doing this, which is real estate investing, which is more it's work, right? Well, at least the active part that there are others that can do the passively invest. So it might be stocks, it might be Bitcoin, it might be real estate, it might be a little of all, because if you can, it's best to diversify. But I think that the paycheck that we've realized, the paycheck will never get us to our goals. It's how much it's investing a bit of that paycheck is what will get us to be able to retire comfortably, to do the things that we want. I did some research, and really at this point in time with inflation and everything else, we need $1.7 million in savings there to retire comfortably, just to retire comfortably. But a majority of Canadians only retire with like 280 something thousand. That's it. That'll be gone in a year. And so that's something that I think a lot of people have to realize is that the lifestyle you're living right now with the paycheck, you might be, traveling, etc. And then your dream is that when you retire, you'll be traveling more, you'll be doing more things. But if you're going to just try to retire on what you have, or like
As a
your
pension.
pension, that won't give you that wouldn't even give you the life that you're living right now, much less the life that you dream of. So it's definitely something that I think for me, didn't even think about retirement that much. I was so busy raising my kids and giving to them and giving them the best life and putting them through, private schools and all their activities, etc. I didn't have time to think about retirement, and then 50 hit. And that's when the light bulb went on. So I am so happy that that you started young. So for people out there, start thinking about that in investing for, retirement, etc. But you never know, like you might be thinking about it for retirement, but something else happens in your life that, that you need that money for. Like for me, I lost my house,
Yeah.
right? And my job at the same time. So all of a sudden that what I was planning for retirement, now that was actually my safeguard. It helped me during that traumatic time. So you don't know what's coming up. So I think that it's amazing that you started young and you already had that mindset. So I think you still did well without the coaching, but if you want to now take it seriously like you plan and scale, then definitely, investing in yourself first is
That's the goal
amazing.
too. Yeah, because real estate can cost you a lot of money if you keep on doing the wrong things. You learn and then you don't do it again. But how
Mhm.
much would that first mistake cost you? Because we can see it everywhere, unfortunately, on social media that other people get burnt on their first investment. So
And
education.
those people are, even some of those people were educated and still got burnt. So it's, so imagine those that aren't educated, what can happen. So it is high risk. It is definitely high risk. Investing is high risk, but that's the whole point, is that you wouldn't get these returns in a savings account if you don't take the risk to
Exactly.
spend money to make money.
Growth is a risk, right? If you want to
Mhm.
grow, you have to take risk. But at the same time, there's ways to mitigate them. So for me, that's education and just being surrounded with people that have the same interest as me.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, that can, but also diversity of skills, etc., that you could use them as mentors, as sounding boards, as, masterminds, all of these things. So networking too is really important, because like surrounding yourself with people that are doing the same thing, going in the direction ahead of you that you can learn from. Definitely. That's amazing. So as a nurse, I know that there are things that in any job, like that's the thing. A lot of real estate investors come in and they say, "Well, I have no skills. I don't.
Mhm.
This is my first time doing real estate investing." But many of us from our corporate, from our day jobs, they say we have cross-functional skills that we can apply to real estate. So what's your superpower as a nurse that you bring to real estate?
For me, it's composure under pressure. I am a critical care trained nurse. With more pressure, I can actually focus more on analyzing things and just prioritizing on what has to be done. And one thing too is once I set my mind into something, I create a roadmap to make that happen. That's why when people ask me, how can you balance nursing, real estate, and being a mom of twins? For me, it's more of a balance and act and just blocking the time
Mhm.
because they all matter to me.
I think it's amazing. People don't realize what you can do when you have to do it, right? So it's all possible to, as long as if you have to do it, or you in your mind, there's no other way, right? This is what I want. There's no other way for this. And that's what manifesting and visualizing is all about. Because in your mind, that goal becomes the something that you already have and you don't want to lose. Right. So it's
Exactly.
like, I have to do this. This is not a,
I just treat it like because I've worked in critical care. So if I have a patient in front of me,
mm,
I can't say, oh, I want to take my break because I'm tired. I have to do the task because I have to keep this person alive because
yes.
other people are depending on this person. That's the thing and honestly, when I first started, I didn't know what my strengths are, but this is my strength. I realized that for the
Mhm.
last couple of years that, yeah, once I track my tasks, I will do everything to finish those tasks. I will do everything to finish my shift and just keep that patient alive.
Yeah. So, and that is, I think that's so key. I think for all of us, so we need to step back and think about what our strengths are, what our skills are, and how do we apply it to real estate. I know for me, I had, for my first 2 years, I compartmentalized my real estate investing from my job. Right.
Mhm.
So in my job, it was my role to go into organizations and say, you need to fix this, you need to have a process for this, you need to have a checklist, you need to automate this, like those kind of things. But then when I was doing real estate, I wasn't thinking of it as a business. It's just a side thing. And I didn't do that. I didn't create systems. I didn't automate where I could. And then all of a sudden I had like 5 properties and like my desk was a mess. And so, and then I thought, Debbie, it's really weird. It's something clicks in my head and I just talk to myself. So in this case, it was like, Debbie, you wouldn't do this. You don't do this in your organization. Why are you doing this in your business? What would you tell your clients? What would you tell the things? And so I had to tell myself and step back to do that. Everybody has those things. Stop compartmentalizing your real estate investing from your day job and see those, have that flow over and apply it to and remember that real estate is a business.
It is a business.
Right? As soon as you get that first property, you have a business.
Yeah, because you have to answer to your client, right? Every time they call, you have to pick up that.
Yes, exactly. And then you have to pay expenses. You have to figure out how to reduce expenses, like all of these different things. So it is a business. So start treating it like one. So tell me a bit about what's your plans for the future, Fritz?
For me, my plan is to acquire more properties. I wanna diversify more on multifamily with partners. And so right now, I'm still analyzing deals. We actually just closed on a duplex in March. And now that I have the knowledge, I'm helping out my family and friends to just get started in investing in real estate. I'm also applying at a program that hopefully I'll get in. And my 5-year goal includes that program. My goal is to establish a family clinic. If I get into that program with nurse practitioners in it, and actually own that commercial clinic. And this is the first time I'm saying it.
That's great. You putting it out there now.
It out there so the universe will hear. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that will actually combine two things that I love, nursing and real estate. That's in my 5-year goal. And I just wrote that last week. I write my vision. I always write them and it's on the fridge.
So where do you see the clinic being? Where do you want that clinic to be?
Yeah, right now I want to do it in Saskatchewan. But honestly, with all the provinces that I've lived at, there's a lot of people who actually don't have family practitioners. Like they don't have access to a family doctor or a nurse practitioner. And so that is my goal. And hopefully I'll get in the program.
When you talked about multifamily, what markets are you looking at for multifamily?
I'm focusing in Saskatchewan and Alberta. One factor with that is with everything that's happening right now, people, let's say from Ontario, is realizing how expensive the cost of living there is. There's about a lot of in-migration from different provinces in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And at the same time, the most important actually is the Tenancy Act is more friendly to property owners like us.
In those provinces, in Alberta and in Saskatchewan.
And that protects me as an owner, my rights as an owner, at least.
And the buy-in is lower than the other provinces too. So you've got more buy-in, you've got, landlord-friendly rules, and you've got pretty high rents considering how much you're actually purchasing. So you're getting, they're cash flow provinces too, along with that. That's awesome. So where was you said you just closed on a duplex. Where's that?
So that's in Regina here. Okay. Yeah. So it's a 3-bedroom on the main floor and then 2-bedroom on in the basement, but their entrances are completely separate and it's cash flowing from day one.
That's really nice. And are you going to be self-managing that one or you have a property manager?
No, I already have a property manager in place. I picked up the keys from my agent and I dropped it off at my property manager.
Well, that's the way that's the thing when you've got a busy life, you don't want to be working in the business. You want to be working on the business. So, it gives you time to look after your family and look for other opportunities while you've got somebody else, doing the work for the day-to-day. So I think that's
exactly. I like boring transitions like that. It's actually the most boring.
I think those are the most fun, as boring as it could be. I've got a condo that I self-manage, but I hardly have to do anything. I have to remind myself once in a while to check in on that tenant.
Yeah, the boring, the better for me because long-term buy and hold. So
yeah,
the more boring it is, the better.
So you had a free offer to give to those that are listening. What was that? Can you tell them about the offer?
I actually created, so I know that there's a lot of people, like there's a lot of things happening in the background from what happened last year in the communities. So the thing is, a lot of people are posting about their deals, but as an investor, myself, we have to protect ourselves, right? We should know at least what the basics are on like doing our due diligence before investing to an active partner. I actually made a tool to just have a breakdown on what you should or may like what you may need to consider before investing with someone. It's 2 pages, but if other people would love to have that guide, I can send it to you guys. Just, I'm thinking about a keyword. Maybe use Debbie and I will send it to you.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So let's I'll share your contact information or edit it into this video, into this podcast. So reach out to Fritz, use the name, reach out, say you listen to this podcast, would like that, that guide, and the code word is Debbie, right, on it. And
it's for free. I'm not charging for anything, not asking for anything back. It's for free.
It's your opportunity to share, but we want to track too. So that's why we're asking for code word, that we want to track how many people are coming to her, because you've watched Fritz on this podcast. So that's awesome. So we'll also share with everyone your handles for your social media. Fritz has been doing a lot of lives on Facebook, so I really encourage everyone to follow her on there. She gives lots of great advice. As she mentioned, that's her goal, to give back to others from what she's learned. So we all learn from each other. So I think that's the amazing part of being a real estate investor that I've seen than any other community. Everyone in this community loves to give back and help others. So that's amazing. Well, I'm rooting for you now. I'll message you every now and again and ask you how's that those plans for that clinic going.
Yeah, and if anybody knows anyone who has done this, let me know.
Okay, so you're looking for others that have, done it.
The experience, because I need to do my research.
And anyone that maybe want to passively invest with you on it? You're looking for investors in that?
Yes,
like that idea, but just don't have the time or care to do the work around it.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be just multifamily. It can be residential, as long as it's a win-win situation. That's my goal, is it should be a win-win situation, especially for my partners.
Super. So reach out to Fritz, connect with her, like she mentioned before, she likes connecting with others, sharing her information and learning from you. So do reach out to her. As I mentioned, we'll share her contact information. And thank you so much. I really appreciate this time. I love your journey. I love that it started out with you helping your parents. It always gets me choked up when I hear that part of how hard you worked to be able to give your parents that down payment and give them, that dream that they had thought that was totally gone, that you made it a reality for them. So,
thank you.
If everyone enjoys this podcast, please hit that like button, subscribe so that you'll get notifications right into your inbox or pops up on your phones when the next podcast has been dropped. And please do comment. And also, if you can reshare this on your social media, we would really appreciate it, because this is why we do this, is for everybody to learn from our journeys. So please share it with others so that we can keep paying it forward, sort of thing. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. And Debbie and Fritz out for today.